So in the previous video, we set up our wall weapon class and all that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do in this one is we're going to be, we already have our weapon spawning when we purchase it. What we're going to do is we're going to add this weapon to our character. So currently this is how we have it set up. So when we spawn the weapon, what we do is we add it to the array. That's pretty much it, but it's not our current weapon, so to speak. So whenever we switch to a current weapon, all we do is we have our on rep, which goes through and will attach it to the hands. So that's kind of like just to be kind of safe thing. So if the weapon's not attached to our hand socket, it's going to attach it. Same thing that controls the hiding and unhiding and all that. So when we call our switch to next weapon, that will be handled. Yeah, it'll just be handled kind of that way. So we're going to go ahead and create a function in our character base.cpp. Well, actually, let's see. This is something that I would almost rather have in our Nazi zombie character because you do not purchase wall weapons in multiplayer. So we're going to actually do this in our Nazi zombie character. So let's go down to, I guess, just get rid of that public section. We're going to do it in here. Above on fire. So we're going to do void. What would we call it? Give player weapon, I guess. And it's going to take in a weapon base weapon. So that's going to be its parameter. And let's create the implementation. And what we're going to end up doing is following along kind of how our character base.cpp did. So all we're going to be doing, because this is going to be running on the server, we're going to do a check. So if has a, let's see, are we following along with has authority here? I'm trying to remember kind of my logic behind it all. We also need to do a check here to see if we do have authority before calling the server RPC, because we don't need to call the server RPC if we don't have if we're using authority. We don't need to call the server RPC if we're already on the server. So we're just going to do if has authority. Here we're going to go weapon array dot add. What we're going to add is weapon. So we're also going to do checks. So if has authority and weapon. So make sure that's valid. Print out a log. Adding weapon to weapon array. So weapon array is replicated. Yes. So now from our wall weapon, what we need to do is we need to actually call it. So I'm going to close our barricade and interactable base. So in our use, we spawn the weapon. And what we're going to end up doing is do player, what was it, give weapon? What was it called? All right, we need to make the function public. So void give player weapon. It's going to be under our public section. So now we can do player, give player weapon, and pass in our weapon. So what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to comment out that line there. And already on the server, so what I'm pretty much going to end up doing is just attaching the weapon to our hands. So we're going to do this weapon, attached to component. Parent is going to be our, well, let's see. We don't want to do this necessarily just yet because we have third and first person to deal with, so ignore that. I'm just going to compile and see what happens. Alrighty, let's check it. Well, eventually, because I have that, the good old 10-second hang time after it tries to load the map. I'm also going to make a comment here. Check weapon class valid. Right, so we spawned. Should have the weapon class linked. So we have I'm an idiot. I don't want this to be edit defaults only. I guess it's not that big of a deal. So let's go ahead and hit play and just see what happens. I'm expecting some issue. And it would probably help if I didn't actually have the STG already in my hands. I'm going to set the starting weapon back to the pistol. Ignore these two. And let's see what happens. I buy it. I scroll wheel. I now have the STG. So, scroll wheeling right now, I have nothing. I buy it. I scroll wheel. I now have the STG. And everything's working accordingly. Now, out of curiosity, what are the odds that it's already going to be working properly in multiplayer? So we have our server and our client. I have the client buy it. Client buys it. And we now have an STG. Woohoo! Confirm when the server does it. Server now has the STG as well. So we are pretty much good to go there. So we now have an actual wall weapon. So now what we can do is we can create another one. Let's see. Now here's the blueprint. So we have it set up. I want to change this. So my initial idea was to make a bunch, but I'd rather just have one wall weapon class and just have just alter the settings inside of it. So what I want to do instead, go to wallweapon.h, change wall weapon class to edit anywhere, and compile. And we also need to actually change the wall weapon mesh to edit anywhere as well on top of that. So that way we can change the materials. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and close it down. Also need to make it take the cost. So I might actually move like the cost of interactables and usables and stuff like that into our interactable base, and same thing with the maybe even the B is used. I don't know yet. But regardless, it's compiled. So let's reload or reopen the editor. There we go. So now if I click it, we can change the class that it spawns, as well as change the material. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, move this one over. We're going to set this one to the M1 carbine. So it's going to spawn the M1 carbine. We'll change the weapon outline to the M1 carbine weapon outline. And I'm just going to go back to testing with one client. There's no point. So we have the STG. So now I have both by the M1 carbine. Now I have the STG, pistol, and the M1 carbine. I have all three weapons. And everything is working accordingly, just like normal. Now we have one thing of we can keep buying. So I have all three, one of each. I buy the STG again. I have two STGs, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now I have a bunch. So I'm just scrolling through right here, literally. and I simply have a ton. So one thing that I want to go ahead and, well, not right now, this will be the next video, we need to set it up so that we can only have 2 weapons. So let's say we started with just the pistol. Nothing else, I'm scrolling, no other weapon. I buy the STG. Now I have 2 guns. Well, let's say I have the pistol in my hand still with 2 guns, and I need to rename that, and I buy the M1 carbine. I want it to get rid of my pistol, so I only have the M1 carbine and the STG. I don't want to have the pistol still. So that's what we're going to end up doing in the next one. So I'm going to change this name here. Just press F to buy M1 carbine. I'll give the price of, like, I don't know, 600. So yeah, now that our wall weapons are pretty much ready, I will see you in the next one when we do that little cleanups, limit ourselves to having only 2 weapons. So as always, if you want to support me, the link to my Patreon is in the description, as well as if you have any questions, there is a link to my Discord server as well, where I focus primarily on just helping people along with my tutorials. So as usual, I will see you in the next one.